Hello and good morning. I'm so glad you're here. We are going to do Stretch 30. We're going to be doing a variety of mobility and stretching exercises. It's going to feel so good for our bodies this morning. Of course, as always, if you're interested in a different style or a little longer class, please do access the video library. So many different options for you to choose from. Your yoga block may come in handy a little bit later. So if you have it handy, then keep it close by. And let's go ahead and get started, coming all the way down onto our backs. And once you're down on the ground, we'll move the feet out wide toward the edges of your mat and your arms out directly away from your shoulders with the palms facing up. If you need to adjust your arm position in any way, make sure that you're comfortable here. That's really what we care about. Maybe wiggle the shoulder blades a little. And letting the eyes come closed if you're comfortable with that. And just a handful of deep breaths to help us tune in and focus on the body. One more long deep breath. All right, bend up your knees. Wrap your hands around the knees and pull in. Feel the low back rounding as you pull the knees in toward the chest. You can always separate the knees a little bit if that's more comfortable for you. Otherwise, drawing the knees as close together as you can. And then place one hand onto each knee and start to make opposite direction circles. So the legs are moving in opposite directions. That is the motion that will give us the most movement in the hip joints. Versus if you keep the legs together and move them in the same direction. Reverse your direction. I love the feeling that the hip joints and the low back are working together to create this movement here. So we are stimulating the low back in addition to the hip joints. Good. Bring the feet back onto the ground and the arms once again reach out away from the shoulders. Separate your feet wide and then start to drop the knees from side to side. Now make sure that the inside knee is coming all the way, staying all the way to the inside of the other leg. Again, the reason we're keeping the feet out wide is to maximize the amount of movement we're getting in the hip joints. Should be able to feel a nice rhythmic flow here. Good. Drop the knees over to the right and look to your left. And to switch sides. And back to center. Stretch out your left leg. Wrap the hands around the right knee. Pull the right knee toward the right shoulder. Keep that knee pulled in tight toward the chest and start to move your knee across your body. So you're compressing the hip joint by keeping the knee pulled in. So you don't get as much movement here because we are trying to keep the leg pulled in tight to the body. This is compressing the hip joint. It's good to get a little bit of compression in the joints, and then we will release the joint to get the movement back, the synovial fluid released into the hip joint. Let's go ahead and do that now. So now go ahead and release the leg and just start into circles. Now let your leg move out away from your hip. So you're circling, but let the leg move away and you're going to feel some nice stimulation here in the hip joint. Reverse the direction. And then extend the foot straight up toward the ceiling. You probably are going to feel a little stretch in the back of your leg, especially if you pull the toes down toward the kneecap. So your foot is flexed. And see if you can find a stretch in the calf and the Achilles tendon. And then slowly release and lower that leg all the way down to the ground. And other side, left leg up, hands around the left knee. Pull the left knee toward the left shoulder. One of my favorite stretches. This feels so good, getting some space in the hip joints. When you're ready, start that little movement from side to side once again, trying to keep your leg in tight to the body so you're feeling a bit of compression in the hip joint. Good. And then we'll release the hand hold and start into the circles, letting your leg move away out forward just a little bit so there's more space for the hip joint and getting some movement inside of the joint, stimulation of the joint. Reverse the direction. And extend the foot straight up toward the ceiling. Pull the toes down, feel that good stretch on the back of your leg. So you're straightening the leg as best as you can, but your leg might still be a fair amount bent, and that's okay. Just move it towards straight just until you're feeling something happening in the back of your leg. And then take your time, lower that leg all the way down to the ground. And now sweep your arms behind your head. Point your toes forward. Squeeze tight through your leg muscles. If this is uncomfortable for the shoulders, you can always bend the elbows a little. Always making any little adjustments you need to. We never want to be feeling like we're working through pain. So stretch it out as best as you can. Now bend your elbows and move into the cactus position. So your elbows are bent. The arms are still out to the sides, but the elbows are bent. The palms facing up toward the ceiling. Now hold here. Breathe. And then reach your hands straight up toward the ceiling. The arms lengthen. Interlace the fingers and flip the palms toward the ceiling. And then reach the arms back behind your head. You may need to bend the elbows a little here as you reach those arms behind your head. Make sure their shoulders aren't unhappy. So reduce the range of motion if you need to. Breathe into it. And then raise the hands back up toward the ceiling. Release the hand hold. Lower the hands down by your sides. And bend up your knees. Place your feet on the ground and your arms are next to your sides. We're going to begin to bridge the hips up. And go ahead and start this, remembering that our goal is to round the spine. So not just a flat spine where you're lifting and lowering the hips, but think about placing each vertebra on the ground as you go down and lifting each vertebra as you come back up. You'll notice more abdominal work happening because of this curling, rolling action. Do it one more time all the way through. And then release all the way down. Your feet are still on the ground, the knees are still bent. Bring the right foot up on top of the left knee. Now, if you need a little visual, you're welcome to look up here. So what I'm going to do is bring the toes of the left foot off the ground, but notice my heel is starting still on the ground, which makes that foot flexed. And now I'm going to keep that foot in that position and just simply start to lower and lift. You can go ahead whenever you're ready. And all I'm doing is tapping the heel to the ground. And what we're doing here is a dynamic stretch for the hips, but you're also strengthening your core. So each time you go into this, see if you can get your legs to pull in just slightly closer to your hip, to your belly. 3 more. 2, and 1. Release and switch legs. Left foot up, you're onto the heel of the right foot, and then you lift and lower, tapping the heel to the ground each time. This is a very effective strengthener for the lower abdominals, as I'm sure you can feel. The low abs are getting a lot of work here. We're also getting a little bit of strength happening in the hip flexors. 3 more. 2, and 1. Release back down. Now bring your right foot up again, same position, first leg. And this time you have lots of options. If you need to, you can just hold on to the right foot and knee like I've done here and pull that leg into the belly. Or you can wrap the hands around the left knee or underneath the knee. Grab some part of your legs and pull toward your belly, and you are going to get an amazing stretch there in the glute on the right side. You might be feeling this in a little different place. Some people actually do feel this in the hamstring. We're going to hold here for 3 more breaths. That gives you a chance to see if you're ready to pull in just a little deeper. And release. Lower it all the way back down, right to the other side. Left foot up. And again, you have your option here. You can hold on to the left foot and knee and just pull that left leg in towards your belly. Or if you like, wrapping the hands around the right knee or underneath the knee, either way works. And then just gently pulling in and holding and breathing. And if you're ready to pull in just a little deeper, because we're almost done, you might feel a deeper stretch here. Well, you can hold it for 3 breaths. All right, go ahead and release. Both feet back onto the ground. Walk your feet close together this time. Open the knees out into butterfly stretch. And once again, bring the arms out into your cactus position. And if this is a difficult position because your shoulders are compromised, let the elbows come closer down to the ribs like I've done here. So if you need the modification, the elbows are in closer to the ribs. If the shoulders feel okay, then you're reaching those arms more back behind your head. And letting your shoulders and chest muscles, your inner leg muscles completely relax for a breath. And then release. Draw the knees back together. Wrap your hands around the knees and squeeze in. All right, my friends, beautifully done. Rock yourself up and swing your legs behind. Come on into tabletop. I hope you're feeling great. So good to do this work. Tabletop position. Widen your knees out to the edges of your mat and start those circles. So the hip circular motion. Remember, the challenging part of this is that you're rounding and arcing the low back. In addition to the circles, so you've got 2 things going on at once. See if during half of the circle, you can keep the low back rounded, and the other half of the circle, you're rounding the low back. If it helps you to get a little flow, you can bend and straighten at the elbows. Just really flow through the movement. Reverse your direction. and back to center. This time, walk the knees in, and you can always come down onto the elbows if you need to. In fact, I'm actually going to do that. Let's do just drop to the elbows. It just is really nice to take some pressure off the wrist. So you're down on the elbows. Now take the right leg back, toes down onto the ground. You're going to push back into a calf stretch. So here with your forearms down on the floor, you can use the strength of your arms to push your weight back into your foot. Let your heel release back. You should be getting a stretch in the calf muscle. One more breath to push back deep into the stretch. And then release and draw that knee back in. We'll switch right to the other side. Left leg back, toes on the ground, pushing back firmly into the calf stretch. Ideally, you're pushing the toes into the ground, and hopefully they're not slipping too much. So you can push back firmly, holding those toes in place, letting the heel release back, lengthening through the calf muscle. And then release and bring it back in. Lift back up onto your hands. We're in tabletop position. Now we're going to come into downward facing dog. I know it's not everyone's favorite position, but all we're going to do is come up into downward dog to give a little additional stretch to the backs of the legs. So curl the toes under, lift your hips up into downward dog, and then see if you can push your weight back towards your legs a little and start to pedal your legs. One leg bends, the other one straightens, bend, straighten, bend, straighten. Make sure your heel is sinking down toward the ground. Couple more to each side. And release your knees back to the ground. Awesome. Lift your hands off the ground. We're in our upright kneeling position. The knees are hip width apart, and we're pushing the feet into the ground. Take your hands up overhead. We're going to just move into side bend. So this is a great exercise for strengthening and stabilizing the core and your legs. But I want you to also feel this stretching sensation you're getting underneath your armpits and through your ribs. So in order to get that, we've really got to lengthen through the arms. Stretch your arms as best as you can, and try not to let the arms fall away from the ear like this when you go to side. All right, keep the arms close to the ears. And you'll notice here as we do this just a few more times that you'll be able to side bend a little deeper if you push your hips in the opposite direction. I actually feel this stretch all the way down the sides of my legs. One more to each side. And release and lower the arms down. Excellent, everybody. Big smile and big shoulder rolls. Other direction. Beautiful. Now move into the middle of your mat like I've done here. So you have space to either side, and then lower the hands back to the ground into your tabletop position. We're going to take the right leg and reach it straight out with the toes pointing as far forward as you can. Now, if the toes aim out a little, that's okay. But ideally, we'd like to pull the toes in, and you may actually feel a little stretch on the outside of your leg there. Now you're going to take the right arm, so the same side, right arm reaches up toward the ceiling, and see if you can look up toward the hand. Breathe, and then release. We're going to switch sides. We're going to work on this a little bit in different positions. So we'll keep working on this. So you're going to hold and reach and breathe and release and come back in. Now let's switch back to the first side. Now this time, we're going to do a series of movements. So you're going to take the right arm up into the same twist. Now the arm comes underneath the left shoulder, and then reach it back up. Reach it through, and reach it up. So as you do this a few times, see if you can increase the amount of reach, both going up and also going through. I love these combination exercises. You're getting good core strength here, as well as obviously the flexibility work. Last time. Good. And release. Back into tabletop position. You can always shake out the wrist if you need to. Whenever you're ready, we will go to the other side, left leg out, and we reach the arm up. Nice full length there. And then when you're ready, you start into the move, reaching through and then back up. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel a real nice stretch in the groin of the straight leg as I reach underneath the right shoulder. And I feel an opening and stretching and twisting through the rib cage as I reach up toward the ceiling. Twice more. Good. Release and come back in. Lift the hands off the ground. Nice job with that, everybody. Roll out or shake out the wrist. And then bring the fingers onto the shoulder blades, and we'll make giant circles here. We've done this exercise many times. Remember, what I'm looking for here is a movement of the entire shoulder girdle, not just the arms. So it really isn't an arm circle, although the arms are circling. But really the essence of this exercise is how much can you move the shoulder blades in your back? Reverse the direction. Trying to get as much mobility as we can in that thoracic spine. So I feel like my upper back is rounding and arcing just a little to help emphasize the movement of the shoulder blades. All right, beautiful. Lower the hands back down onto the ground. Now this exercise is mostly a core and leg strengthener. You're going to be keeping your hands on the ground this time, and we're going to reach the right leg straight out. Now our goal is to lift the foot straight up off the ground and then lightly bring it in without making a sound, without dragging the foot. You're going to switch right to the other side. Left leg reaches out, lift the foot, then bend the knee and softly land the knee back to the ground. So as you do this, as you step out, be as soft as you can, lift, and be as soft as you can coming back in. So try to not make a single sound. And in order to make this as quiet as possible, you really got to use your core and those hips in order to not slide and to not clunk. And one more time, each side. And back into center. Lift the hands off the ground. Super work, everybody. All right. In this kneeling position, once again, we want to think about stabilizing. Push the feet into the ground. Hug the legs toward each other. Feel the extra contraction you get in your hips. Raise the arms up halfway, the thumbs pointing up toward the ceiling. Get nice and tall. Rotate to the right. Now, hold the rotation and see if you can get your head to turn, looking to the back hand. Breathe. and release. Turn and go the other direction. Hold your lower body in place. Look all the way to the back hand. Back to center, and again, same exact exercise. Twist, look back, back to center, other direction, and back to center. Let the hands come down, roll the shoulders, other direction. Now, if you need to, you can come to seated. You can put the block underneath you. You do not have to stay in this kneeling position. You could even come to standing if your knees are no longer happy being in this kneeling position. So make a change if you need to. I'm going to stay in this position. Go ahead and bring the right arm out in front and use the other hand to pull the fingers back into a wrist stretch. And then release and switch sides. Pull the fingers back. And release. Now bring the hands onto the ground and flip your fingers to face in toward your knees. Now you may have to adjust and have the hands a little further forward or a little closer in, or you could even turn the fingers out just a little bit. You want that nice little stretch there. Now please be careful. Don't overstretch. If you want a little more, all you have to do is lean back slightly, and that will give that extra stretch in those forearms. See if you can hold for a breath. Now carefully flip the hands back over and lift the hands off the ground. Now we're going to come down again, and this time we're going to flow through a little movement here. So it's the same type of idea, but you're just going to flip one hand. So I flip it, and then I do the other hand, and then I flip and I flip. So I'm just going to start to move my hands. Flip one and then the other, and you can go in any kind of pattern you want. You can flip one at a time and then switch, or you could do both and then switch. It doesn't matter. And again, if you need this easier, have the hands a little further away from the knees. Another option is to not have the heel of the hand come all the way down to the ground. Good. Go ahead and release and bring those hands back off the ground. Shake it out. Really good, everybody. Take the hands up high toward the ceiling and look up to the hands. Try to give yourself full length here. Now push the hips forward a little, contract the glutes and lean back a little, stretch into a little back bend. Look forward, sweep the hands all the way behind your back and bring the crown of the head either halfway to the floor or maybe all the way to the floor. And then push back up and reach up. Again, push the hips forward, lean back into back bend, and then reach the hands down and lower down. Again, push up and go through the same exact movement on your own timing. Let's do about 3 more here and see if you can find even a little more flow and freedom of movement, but do make sure you're contracting the glutes when you go into the back bend. Good, and then finish that last one. Release and come to seated position. Cross the feet in front, walk the feet away from each other, and place the hands either on the knees or hands onto the floor. Just gently lean forward and rise back up. Lean forward and rise up. And forward and rise up. Switch the other foot in front. Lean forward and up. Get it twice more. And as you finish that last one, bring your legs out in front, bounce the knees on the ground, make some ankle circles and toe movements. We are all done. I love the efficiency. It doesn't take long, and it really helps our consistency just to give this 30 minutes, and you are all done for the day. Nice job, everybody. I'm really glad you joined me, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, everybody, and bye for now.